civilization is at stake for the rest of the world as well as for us, and that we have a responsibility to maintain and increase our capacity as the arsenal of the civilized world.
Welcome to The Industrialized Woman, a podcast mini-series opening up the discussion to everyday women who have faced challenges in the workplace. It is currently a 3-episode arc focused on women in leadership, motherhood, and racial discrimination. Today's episode, Working Moms. Our discussion guests include Dr. Melissa Hernandez-Katz, one of my professors at the University of Texas at Dallas, followed by Tori Finlayson, a lifelong friend and self-employed dog groomer. Being a working mom is time-consuming, and unfortunately, schedules do not always align. So, for today's episode, we are talking to each guest separately, but they offer great insight into the concept of working mothers.
My name is Melissa Hernandez-Katz. I am Associate Professor of Instruction at the University of Texas at Dallas. I am a first-gen student, which I always like to let my students know as well, being through some things that maybe some of them have been through as well. I am a working mom. I am married, and we have 2 daughters, 11 and 15. My background it varies. I have a bachelor's in business, master's in communications, and then my PhD is in higher ed. The higher ed came because when I started working in admissions 20 plus years ago, I fell in love with higher education. And so that's why I decided to do my PhD in that area. But my other 2 degrees have definitely served me well in all my capacities within higher ed over the last 20 years. I love it. I'm fortunate that part of my time has also been on the student services side. So I've done advising, academic counseling, some leadership roles. And then for about 10 years now, I've been teaching. So I feel pretty fortunate that I've had this experience of 2 sides within higher ed that normally doesn't happen. So I consider myself kind of unique in that area.
I love that you have such an extensive background. It's definitely very inspiring, especially myself. I'm not a mom or anything yet, but I love seeing, that you can have it all. You can do it all. So I definitely love that. My next question, this is based off of some research into just ethics. I was considering, motherhood, of course, is an ever-evolving concept. And, the one thing about motherhood that never changes is care. And according to Dr. Paula S. Tompkins, a professor of communication studies at St. Cloud State University, she identifies care as one of the 6 ethical values humans use to communicate ethics for ethical reasoning. She says that care involves understanding and meeting the needs of people in our interpersonal relationships. It requires both the person to give care, the caregiver, and someone who receives care, who's the cared for. And so I wanted to ask, how is care perceived as a mother? Are we as women more inept to be more caring, or is it just something that you begin to learn to be better at once you have children?
I'm not trying to get out of the question, but I feel like it's both. I think part of it has to do with culture. In some cultures, you're taught that to be caring and nurturing because you're the woman and that is your job. Like that is essentially your job is to nurture and care for the children and the household. You're not expected to do anything else in some cultures. And that's perfectly fine. We may not see it like, well, that's not okay. But if you talk to some of those women, they know, and that's perfectly fine by them. But then, when I think about the US, I think, definitely we're a culture where we're taught that, yes, a woman can be a stay-at-home mom or can work and still be a mom or just work and not be a mom. And that's okay too. I feel like it's something that is taught depending on your culture. But then I also believe that some women, we just naturally do have a maternal instinct. And the reason I say this, even if you're not a mom, and I say this because I think of my sister who's a teacher, and she's not a mom, never has been. And yet there are so many students who have written her notes or recognized her, and they always say how supportive she was, how caring she was, how she inspired them to do something, that they knew they could be better because of her. To me, those are some of the qualities of a mother, but she's not a mom. So that's why I feel like part of it is just maternal. We naturally have this instinct, whether we acknowledge it or not. And if she were to hear me saying that, she was like, no, that's not, a mother. I'm not a mom. I'm not a mom. But in actuality, those are, to me, maternal qualities. And she's never had kids before. Yeah, I do believe there is some maternal instinct, because honestly, when I had my first child, I was panicking, going, oh my gosh, how am I going to know what to do? I'm not, this child's going to die because I'm not going to know what to do with her. And my mom always told me, she goes, trust me, your maternal instincts are going to kick in. And I didn't trust her. And then literally it was like the snap of a finger.
Just
They
like
kicked
that.
in. And you kind of knew what to do. You knew what to try. So that's why I say, I think part of it is taught culturally. And then the other part, it is just within us.
I think that's really a good answer. Like, it definitely can't just be one or the other. It has to be a little bit of both.
I think so.
Moving on, I did want to ask your opinions. What is your first thought when you think about working moms?
Oh, gosh, I have lots of thoughts, but
Yeah, go for it. Tell me all.
I think the first one that really comes to mind is it's a balancing act.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm on a tight wire a lot of the times. Not that that's bad, but it does feel like a tight wire at times, and you do fall. I mean, that's what I can say. You do fall off, but you just have to get back up. And so we have to learn how to give in some areas, because we have to, that whole, oh yeah, you can be a working mom and have it all. I mean, yeah, you can, but what comes with that is you learn how to balance that, and that you're not going to be able to be everywhere, and something has to give at times. And some working moms do it because they have to, and I understand that. And then there's others who do it because they want to, because they do want to work. They want to accomplish something. I feel that's just me. I want to work because I want to. I would go crazy at home, I think. But that doesn't mean I love my kids any less because I didn't want to stay at home with them. That was just me. But I would say balancing act is the first thing that comes to mind.
Definitely. I was talking to my coworker just yesterday. She was like, I love my kids, but I can't stay at home all day. I got to use my brain for something.
Yep.
And she was like, her last boyfriend didn't understand that. He thought she would just go back home if he was the breadwinner. And she's like, no, I can't do that. So I think that's beautiful, because we really can't stick to these gender norms, because we're all human. We all have that large muscle in our head that just wants to keep working out. So I think that's a wonderful point to make. Yeah. And it's definitely true. Definitely a balancing act. I've seen it firsthand with my mom. So right now she's single in a sense. I have 3 younger siblings still at home. It's like an everyday struggle for her at the moment, not having the older kids home to help anymore. But yeah, definitely a balance.
Yeah.
Oh, I was getting kind of choked up saying that. So the next thing I wanted to ask you was, what mistakes have you learned from as a mother?
I feel, gosh, let's see if I don't get choked up with this. I feel like I learn every day. You think you get something and you're like, okay, I've got this now. I'm going. And you go for about a week, and then you like I said, you fall off the tight wire again. You fall off that. I have learned that I have to take care of myself. I think early on, when the girls were younger, I honestly, I can say I did not take care of myself. And when I say that, I mean my mental health. And I think that is something that we as women don't talk about enough. I'm taking care of myself now. I came to a point where I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't be everything to everyone if I'm not healthy. And that meant I needed to do that. And I have no problem sharing that now. I know for some women, that's something they don't like to share, but I will shout it from the rooftops. I see a therapist, and I am very happy for that, because I do hold myself to a high standard with my kids. And the reality is, I don't need to. They recognize that I can't be everywhere. I'm not, I can't be in 2 places at one time, and they're okay with that. But I have to recognize that that's okay. Those are my biggest mistakes, I think, is being so hard on myself. But I know I'm not alone, that most women do that. We hold ourselves to a higher standard because we are trying to do 2 things. And some of that guilt comes in of, well, if I wasn't working, Could I be more attentive? So I think my biggest mistake was not taking care of myself first, because now that I'm taking care of myself, I feel like I'm a better mother and a better person. And so when I'm healthy, then that makes my relationships with my daughters healthier.
That was very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't mean to
Yes.
get you too emotional,
No,
but thank
that's
you for sharing
okay.
that. I think it's very important to be that advocate, for mental health, especially like you said, women believe they just got to power through it, that, this is normal.
Yeah,
It's kids first, and it's not always that way, So
exactly.
thank you for sharing that. From, you learning from mistakes and you seeing other women and mothers, do you have like a cornerstone or an idol that you kind of just looked up to, that, just kept that faith in yourself that you could keep going?
Definitely my own mom. Obviously, growing up, when you're little, you don't really realize it until you start to get older how much your mom does. But, I see that with my own girls, I'm like, when are they finally going to realize? And then I think back to my own life. I was like, I didn't realize it till I was really in college, really. And then did I realize how much my mom did for me? Definitely my mom. I mean, neither her nor my dad, as I said, I'm first gen. So I think mom went through middle school, but she worked. She became a hairdresser. Um, I was lucky enough that by the time I came along, she was able to work at home. And so she had her own business. And so that was nice, because I always like to say I grew up in a beauty shop. So I had several moms, but so she would work. She would start as early as 7:30 sometimes, I remember, and would go till about 4 o'clock. And she may or may have not had a lunch break. And then there was laundry to be done. And somehow dinner was always still made. And the house was still cleaned. And whatever else, if I had something for school, she may have not known like the material, but she found ways to help me to learn and study, coming up with different methods to help me memorize whatever state capitals or whatever it was. Obviously, until I got to a point where I could do it on my own. If I needed to get somewhere, while she didn't drive, she made sure that I had a way of getting there. That still didn't mean I couldn't participate. And all those little things you don't really recognize until later. I think when you're an adult and you're having to do a lot of things on your own, and you're
Yes.
like, man, like I scratch my head going, how did mom do this? Like, I feel like my job, I have a much easier schedule than her. I'm not on my feet all day like she was. I'm not using my hands all day, but I'm exhausted. And I'm like, but my mom never once complained. If she did, I never saw it. And to me, that was just a strength that I always say I'll never have. But others will tell me I'm a lot like my mom. So I try to uphold to that. The other person I would say, probably more recently, I kind of like I've always admired her, like someone famous. I've always admired her, but it wasn't until I read her autobiography was Michelle Obama. And so I've always admired her, always have. When I read her autobiography, like there were parts that I would close the book and I'd be like, man, like her and I are like, I felt like we could be best friends. I know that sounds funny, but I was like, her and I could be best friends. I like the way I picture me and Oprah being best friends. But me and Michelle hanging out, because I felt like a lot of what she talked about with Barack when he would travel. My husband has traveled a lot in his job, and she would be left alone with the girls and, managing all that. And she was working too. I was like, dang, she went through a lot of the same things I did, and look at her. And so I think, read that and realize there are other people who go through pretty much the exact same thing I've gone through. To me, it made her more real, more likable, even more. And just to say, okay, she fell and she got back up. So if I fall, I can get back up. And she went through a lot of the same things too. So yeah, those are probably my two.
That's beautiful. Very great of Michelle Obama to use her platform for something like that, because we can never get enough advice from other mothers who have been through it.
Yes.
And those memories of your mom sounds just so lovely, growing up in a beauty salon.
Yes, I have
love
so
that.
many
That's
memories.
so cute.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. The next thing I do want to ask you, if you have any advice, anything in general you think is helpful advice to new moms today? It has been seen that the new generation, they can't go by not working. Everyone has to work now to make ends meet. So what advice do you have to women entering the workforce and becoming mothers now?
I think kind of going back to what I said, which I think I've mentioned, is we have to learn not to be so hard on ourselves. And that means if you have a partner, having a partner who sees that you all are equals, that there is no, oh, you're the caregiver, so even though you're working, you're the one who's going to handle all this. But then that also means you yourself have to be willing to give up something, like to let your partner help. So there's another mistake I can say I've learned. That was part of my issue, was I didn't know how to give that up, in this case to my husband. He's always like, I'll do it. And I'll be like, no, I got it. Because in my mind, culturally, I was raised and seeing my mom doing all those things and my dad never doing those things, then it was my responsibility. So that's been something, again, having to work on with my therapist, of, okay, what's wrong with him helping? And then you kind of sit there and go, well, nothing. In my mind, it's because, well, he's not going to do it. And she goes, the way you want it to be done? And I go, well, yeah. And she goes, but is it the wrong way? And I go, well, no, it wouldn't be the wrong way. It's just, and she goes, okay, you have to stop it. And that's part of, the whole process of, it may not be done the way you want it to be done, but if it's done, then what's wrong with that? And I think that's very hard for a lot of us, especially new moms, because we have in our minds, this is the way it has to be done, kind of thing, or it's not correct. If laundry needs to be done and your partner folds the towels a different way from you, is that going to make or break anything? The reality is no. So you just have to learn how to let some things go, and what's worth really, I don't want to say fight for, but take notice of, I guess. So not being so hard on ourselves, letting others help you, whether that's your partner, family member, or not being ashamed. Like if you're both working and your budget allows, hire somebody, to come clean your house. To do,
yeah, definitely no shame.
I see now this laundry service. People bring it to your doorstep. Trust me, I've thought about this, as much laundry as we have going through here. So, and also you're not going to know everything as a new mom, and that's okay too. So we have to be, asking for that help can be hard from others. And that could be as simple as, hey, can you pick up my kid? That's real hard for me. I just recently went through that as well. And also, don't tear other mothers down. I think that's one of our biggest faults. We're quick to like, oh my gosh, can you believe Susie? Blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like everybody has a story. And we don't know what that story is. That's for them to tell. And so I take pride in that. When I'm talking with other moms, if they want to talk about something, I may listen, but I'm not going to add in my own 2 cents of, oh my gosh, that's horrible. How could she think that, because I've been through my own things, and our job is, I think we should be lifting each other up and seeing, well, if she's going through that, maybe we should reach out. Maybe she does need some help. We don't know what's going on. That would be my advice to new moms. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's okay if somebody else does something a little bit differently. It's still going to be okay. You're still going to wake up tomorrow, and if the towels are folded differently, it's okay. The laundry got done.
The goal was met. That's what matters.
The goal was met. Yes. I'm not saying I'm good at it yet, but I'm getting there.
I do confess I have the same problem. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. If I see someone's not going to do it right, I'm like, I'll just do it myself. It's fine.
Yes. Then that's our problem, is and so that's why we put it on ourselves. So as mothers, then we're only adding more work to ourselves. And that's been so hard for me, to, understand, like, does it really matter, And it's like, no, but, like if my husband says, well, I mean, you can tell yourself. So that's the advice. The sooner I think is any new mom can get to that acceptance of, okay, it's not going to be the way I want it. See, it's our form of ethnocentrism, My way is the best way. That's it. But no, it's not true. Just working past that.
Definitely. I think that's some great insight. Yeah. And so I do want to open up the floor to you. Is there any other topics that we didn't touch on that you would love to address?
Years ago, I read the book Lean In, Sheryl Sandberg. And, there's a lot of criticism about, because, she's the working CEO mom and has this great life and everything. And if you read her book, it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, she talks about, having dinner with her family every night. And I'm like, and she talks about how she talks about how her chef, and I'm like, well, woman, yeah, if I had a chef, I could have dinner every night, with my family, and it wouldn't be an issue. I'm struggling just trying to create meals. So, there's always that saying of, having your cake, or you can't have your cake and eat it too. And she was basically saying, yeah, you can. And I think to an extent, we have to remember it's what fulfills you as a person. If working and having a family is what you want, then it's going to work out. That's what I feel like. But it's going to come with some sacrifices, and you have to recognize that. And those sacrifices might be in the form of, okay, the house isn't going to get cleaned every week, or you may not get to go to Hawaii, but you still get a vacation, just maybe not to the destination you want. Those sacrifices are going to look different, but it can be done. And so, but as long as you're happy and fulfilled, then that's, I think, what matters. I like to think that some days are going to look perfect, and you think, gosh, why can't it be like this every day? And honestly, I think that's the truth, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a working mom. There are going to be days that look amazing, and you're going to wish, man, why can't it be like this every day? Or it's there for a few months, and then all of a sudden the floor falls out from under you, and you're like, oh, why can't it be that way? So I think that's just part of the reality of having that cake and eating it too. It's going to happen, but it's going to look different, I think, each day. I guess the best way to say it's not a fairy tale. It's not a fairy tale all the time, every day, but eventually it does come to an end, and hopefully at the end it does have that happy ending for it. But yeah, I mean, I think back to Sheryl Sandberg, and like I said, I felt like some things she was really good about saying, like for women in the workplace, how to be more of an advocate for yourself and those types of things. She gave some really good advice, but the whole like, oh, well, just carve out family time, have meals at home with your family every night. My chef prepares, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's not a reality for a lot of us. We can't have chef prepared meals and then go to soccer practice, or have somebody take our kid to soccer practice. So that part I felt was not reality. And like I said, just, you can't have it all, but it's what fulfills you as a person, I think. And if you have to work because, like you said, studies are showing that now women are having to work to make ends meet, then I would say try and find a job that fulfills you then, that you do enjoy, because then it helps balance out this working and, being a mom.
I think that's a great point. Yes. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for asking me. I love doing it.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go.
Okay. You have a good one. Okay.
You
bye.
too. Bye-bye. We will now be moving into the second half of this episode, where I interview my friend, Tori Finlayson.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. We're on record. Okay, sorry.
Well, thank you for coming to speak with me on this. I appreciate it, and I'm sorry if I sound real nasally. I'm just, it's that time of year.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, anyway. I don't know,
Yeah. I know. It's just that time of year where you're just sick. I would love for you to just start with talking about who you are and what is your story as a mom.
Oh, well, I'm Tori Finlayson, and I go every day to work with my 2.5-year-old. Not everything about me is that I'm a mom, because I'm also a dog groomer. I worked 13 different jobs before I settled on this, so I'm a lot of things. A sushi chef at one point, worked in a bakery at another, did all the things because I was like, I want to learn how to do this, and so I just get a job learning how to do that until I came across. So I was working with dog training when I came across meeting groomers that worked at the same facility as me, And it's like service training for preparing police academy K9.
Ooh, like training?
Training.
Okay,
Yeah.
super.
So, like, before that, you do kennel tech training.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of people start with their kennel tech training. And so they would have me bathe dogs and help the other ladies who worked there. And that, like, spurred my curiosity. And I was actually really good at washing the dogs. And they're like, oh. And so they just started having me just wash dogs. And they took me out of... because they certified me in teaching dogs to swim in the pool, like this whole aspect there of just stuff I was learning. I was learning dog behaviors, and I did that for almost 2 years before I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my official like paperwork for becoming a groomer, and that's when I started working at which was fun and interesting. So I was with for about 9 months as a bather or a groomer's apprentice, learning how to bathe dogs, just learning about dog hygiene, etc., before they sent me off to school. You go to school for like 2 weeks. That was official school. You have a professional give you new equipment, all the things that go over everything you've learned as a bather, and then they teach you specific haircuts, and then you spend the next like minimum 6 months grooming, or it's pretty much, normally it's about 6 months, but they have you groom up to 250 dogs, and it needs to be like certain amount of a certain style of haircut that you've practiced, and every haircut you do is signed off by management or whatever. Well, they had issues with me having a manager, and so I ended up doing 463 dogs before they signed off on my stuff.
Oh man.
That like, and I had all of them signed off by a manager or someone higher up. But because I didn't have an official like salon manager pass my stuff off, they had a manager and one of the older groomers that were teaching me sign off, and so there was a bunch of issues with my paperwork, and that was like my first hiccup with a corporate company and experiencing the frustrations of that. I would make a minimum of like about, on a slow week, $1,300. On a fast week, I'm making closer to $3,000, and I'm making maybe $200 a week, and that's working overtime. So me realizing these numbers, and that other groomers that are at least being paid commission, so other groomers that would make, let's say they make $1,000 for the salon in a week, they get 50% of that as long as their hourly payment. So like, let's say they get paid, the average is like $8 an hour that these groomers get.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, they take the $8 an hour and multiply that, but let's say it's a 40-hour week. So whatever that total is, if your commission, like what you did groomed dog-wise, is more than that, they'd subtract what you earned in those 40 hours from your 50% of your commission.
Oh my god.
And then pay that commission to you as a bonus.
They penalized you for working the hours.
They still pay you the hourly, but they subtract it from your total commission. So you wouldn't get the 50% on top of your hourly.
No, you don't.
You'd get whatever you didn't make hourly out of your commission taken, which is really confusing. They purposely confuse, and it's mostly women in the salons.
Yeah.
And there's no reviews. They're supposed to have a review system, but to do the review system, you have to get your salon manager to review you. Then you have to have a floor manager review you and sign off. And then you have to have the store manager sign off on that. And then once you have those 3 signatures, then you have to go to the general manager to sign off on your increase of pay. So they lock down the system. And so if you have any of those people think that you don't deserve it, you don't get it kind of thing, and or there's just a lot of loops to go through for something that you should be evaluated for, I think, every 6 months. That's kind of like kicked off that. So that was already kind of a rough start, but I loved grooming the dogs. And so I had started at that point in time. I'd finished over my 200 dogs, and I wasn't making a lot of money, so I started just grooming dogs out of my parents' house and out of my own house, doing it at home.
Mm-hmm.
And in my free time, I'd get off of work and then I'd go work some more, because I was like, I was making more than what I made in a week of 40 hours worth of work in about like maybe 8 hours worth of work.
Yeah.
Easily. And that's like charging less than what PetSmart was charging these customers.
Right.
And that's how I was getting that business too, is that I was able to charge less, so it was convenient for them, it was good practice for me, it was a good middle ground. And so that's like kind of kicked off my little business and kicked off the idea of I could do this on my own and still make what I'm making right now and not have to worry about someone else telling me what hours I have to work or when I can or can't leave someplace because whatever. And but they're like, they can only do so many dogs in the confines of work, and they don't really get paid that well. And so like kind of again a meet in the middle between customer and groomer. And I was like, okay, why do I have a middleman for this?
Yeah.
I don't need it. And that was just like, I started getting frustrated just at work. Well, then I got pregnant. Oh, I was pregnant for a while. I didn't realize I was pregnant until I was like 5-6 months in with Edith. Just like, I just didn't notice or pay attention, and I was so stressed in this environment and trying to figure out how to work and earn money and stuff. And then I was like, go to see my doctor, and they're like, you're pregante. And I'm like, I get a transfer slowly after that to a different so I can be closer to my hospital, because it turns out I needed a specialist, because like just a bunch of doctors and their doctor things. I just listened to the doctor. I was like, plus I'm about to hit my 3rd trimester. I just need to be close to, in case this baby pops out at any time, right? Or I do something stupid and the baby's gonna come out, or I pass out, whatever, anything. It's just
to avoid anything bad.
And that location had an opening, because I went and I like applied to it like it was a regular job, and then requested a transfer, and that was the whole thing. Now, of course, I'm skipping all of the like drama that is getting a transfer when
that comes with that. Yeah.
All the chaos that was. But I do it. And I'm gonna be honest, they started treating me like garbage at the new location.
Oh my god!
Like, the store manager is having a rough time because his floor crew just wasn't achieving what he wanted. And then his salon had a new manager, and he's getting used to her. But then he wanted the salon to have like perfect hours and to just be perfect. He wanted everything to be perfect, and he's being mean about it. Well, I end up working. I stay late for one shift. I stay about 30 minutes late, in the sense that like I didn't take my lunch. And I like had a customer. Yeah, so I ended up technically staying there almost an hour late. I had extra time. I had overtime.
Sure.
He got mad that I had overtime. He edited and tried to forge my signature on paperwork for signing off on my timesheets. And I confronted him about it, and he got irritated with me and stuff. And then it was just, that happened like 2 different times, and I was like, I don't want you signing off on my sheets with me anymore, because you've been forging my stuff. I want my salon manager to do it. She's kinder to me,
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Just like drama.
Oh my
god. Like legitimately serious and messed up stuff. And this is, again, my perspective. I don't understand his perspective, because he can share it with me.
Sure.
He just was mad at me, and I don't understand why. From what I understand, he gets a bonus from not having to pay anyone overtime. And so whatever he doesn't have to pay people in overtime, he gets a bonus. And that was one of his incentives. I think that's why he was mean about it, is because he needed some money.
But it's not ethical.
But also, if you need money, ask people to be like, hey, I'm gathering money for this and this, because this is something I need. People have camaraderie. He didn't need to be a jerk. Anyway,
No, he did not.
Right. Like, start a GoFundMe. Don't be a dick at work. Like, or just get another job. Like the rest of us do. So that was the whole thing. And then it came time. It was, I had to inseminate Edith because she was getting too big. And so they wanted her to come out of me about almost a month early.
Wow.
Which is fine. She was more than full size. They were just like worried that they'd have to cut her out of me because she'd be too big.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I was totally on board with it. I was like, okay, well, since I'm going to be popping this baby, I was like, oh, well, can I use my sick days that I haven't used? In the 2 years I worked for you, I haven't taken a single sick day. Can I use, like, I had like 3 weeks worth of sick days. I'm like, can I use a week of this?
Sure.
So that I can prepare for my baby being popped out of me. And I can kind of relax into it. Like, my doctor says I shouldn't be, working.
Yeah.
Because you have to lift big dogs and you have to wrestle these creatures.
Yes.
And these puppies. And, yeah, they were like, no. Once you actually have your baby, that starts your maternity leave. And I was like, okay. Well, then I guess it'll start when I start. And I'm like, they're like, you can't use your sick days or whatever since we know you're pregnant and you're just using them so before you're not actually sick, or if you can't get a doctor's note.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, I'm not going to pay to go into my doctor's. I'm not going to pay like $40 to $60 for like a whole 2 days worth of notes just to say I can't come in, because I have to pay for a doctor's appointment to talk to my doctor to get a note. Which at that point, what I was earning, because I had not even fully like started commission yet. They were refusing my paperwork at this point. Still.
Yes.
Which had me so irritated, because even after my transfer, that shouldn't have been a problem, but it was. And there's just issue after issue. I was just getting frustrated and stressed. And Andy was like, "Why are you working? Just quit."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you don't need to force yourself. You're having a baby. He's like, I will just have to make up the difference. We have savings prepared for the baby. We can make this work. And if we can't, we'll start a GoFundMe and get help.
Yes.
Because when you need money, that's what you do. Or you work. Or you sell your stuff. I was talking to the floor manager, and they're like, oh, okay, well, this is where you can find your resources. They have online resources that you can go to get your information on what's like the base requirement in the state of Texas for maternity leave and what you can demand as an employee. Yeah. And that's where I found out that regulations and stuff. And by the state, I don't have to get paid for it immediately. I don't have to get reimbursed or paid for my maternity leave until like about 3 months after you get back is when it's like you have to give it back. I put in my 2 weeks. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm about to have my baby, about to have her popped out of me. I quit.
Yeah.
You guys don't have to worry about maternity leave anymore. I don't want to fight this anymore. I just want to have my baby in peace.
Yeah.
Thankfully, in my situation, I have a husband that will take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
Not that will help me through this. I can only imagine if I didn't. So
yeah,
had my baby. I had all these little side gigs I had been doing. I was doing 2 or 3 a week. It replaced my income anyway. So like right before I had my baby, I was still making good money. And then I have my baby and I take a couple months break and I come out of it, and I'm still grooming, and my parents are looking at moving out of their house, and so I'm like, crap, I gotta find a new way to do my business. And that's when I get the idea. I'm like, okay, well, I need a house. I'm like, okay, but what if I could bring my house to people? I'm like, okay, like RVs, like, or a trailer. I could make my business mobile. Like, I've seen people have mobile vehicles, but it's hard to buy a car that has thousands of miles on it that has your business attached to it. And it's really hard to actually get, especially even though I am married, when they make it a little bit easier if you have really good credit and you're a single mom and stuff. They do make certain things accessible, like certain grants and stuff.
Yeah.
for you, but like it's still rough. They make everything.
Yeah.
None of it's accessible. You have to
No.
know someone that knows about it, or you have to be able to pay someone who knows about it.
Yeah, it's just a huge process just to get a little something to make you survive.
Right, to make it like so that you can have a place to work.
Honestly, yeah.
Which my dad ends up signing on the loan for the trailer, the RV trailer we have, using his experience with loans and stuff to just even get my RV. Like, I was just blessed to have an accessible parent that'll help me with that, and a husband that's willing to co-sign on it. But that's started my little business, and as we've moved multiple places, so I have people. I haven't had to market my business at all because people have been so supportive, and it's really just a network of like moms that either work at home or stay at home or just know each other.
Yeah.
And so I got in contact with that. So I have customers in Fairview, Whitesboro, Farmersville, Prosper, McKinney, Frisco, Farmersville, the Colony, Aubrey. I earn literally 4 times more
That's
than what I was earning.
Yes.
And I'm doing half the work. And I am driving a lot.
Sure.
I mean, sometimes I'm pretty much just driving. Because I get there and sometimes it's an hour or 2 long appointment and then I'm done. But a lot of times it's the nice part about it, networking has been that like people get together, the other people in their street. So like I have a street, it's she got her dad lives down the street from them and helps them watch their kids and stuff, and then her next door neighbor. And so I do like 4 dogs just all on one street.
Oh, that's so
parked at one
convenient.
house.
Yeah.
You know, the others pay the travel fee, and she just covers me plugging my trailer into her electrical, and boom, we're set.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It's crazy for sure. I don't know how I'm pulling it off.
A lot of logistics.
A lot of logistics, grace of God, whatever, the universe is blessing me with this one. And I do all of it literally with my baby with me. So, like, I set her up either on her tablet, I have little STEM activities, Legos. Sometimes she just wants to help me. And so she'll sit and she'll pet the dog while I brush it, or
so cute.
She'll take her little brushes, because I have little like gentle ones that are soft on the dog. Because some of my tools are sharp. I cut the hair.
Yes.
So she has her little gentle ones, and she'll brush with me, or she'll color in her coloring book, and she just hangs out with me while I work, and then we get in the car and go place to place.
I think that's wonderful.
Which is right, and it's crazy that I've been able to do this since I think I started going mobile. She was about 8 months old. And so it was normally I was working at first just during her nap time. So she'd nap on the bed inside the RV.
Yeah.
And I would just be on the other side of the RV, because it's only 18 feet long.
Okay.
And the actual cabin itself is about 15 feet, because like the tailgate on the front of it and stuff. And so it's a bed up in the front.
Oh, yeah.
So when you first enter, it's a bed on the right, and to the left is like a little kitchen, but I took the dining area out of it and just put in a grooming table. And then there's a whole little bathroom with it's a whole bathtub and toilet shenanigans. And so I'll wash the dogs in there and then pull them out on the table. And it's a crazy little setup, but it works really well.
You made it work.
Yeah. Like, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is like a big part of being a parent is just preparing for stuff and having stuff on you.
Yeah.
And like having a little first aid kit, making sure you always have diapers and a snack. And I'm like, I now wish I had a Mary Poppins bag.
Right.
Ugly, but it'll have everything I need.
Oh, yes.
No offense, Mary Poppins.
No offense, but yeah, it's a bag of holding. What are some things you've learned becoming a mom, especially one that's always working? Are there any mistakes you've learned from? And can you turn that into like advice for new mothers?
Oh, 100%. Don't trust the system.
Take everything with a grain of salt.
Man. That's an endless one. Look for other mamas
Look
that
for
are
other
doing
mamas.
the right things by their kids.
Okay.
Honestly, you have to. It's crazy to say, but you have to be open-minded to other ways of parenting and other people around you to find what works for you.
Fair.
But also, man, there's so many things. Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Think of like maybe your top 2 or 3 things that you wish you would have
Build a
known.
community.
Build a
Like,
community.
I wish that going into motherhood that I was more focused on building a community of women around me and looking for people, not just in similar situations, but for like having them even be around my baby, to spend time with my kids and to know that kids are okay. Also, even just as a wife, is knowing that you are an equal partner and you're of equal value, even though you aren't the one bringing the money in.
Right.
Because I'd been taught that. I had to have like multiple conversations with my husband even before leaving PetSmart of, I was so afraid that if I wasn't earning money for the household, I lost value, not only to my husband, but to my household. And it's scary, but my advice is to look within yourself and see your true value, because as someone who literally creates life,
yes,
and has the possibility to, because
yes,
it's not always perfect. Sometimes your genitalia are doing something stupid. The fact is that it's not going to increase or decrease your value based on your monetary gain that you bring to the table. Because I wish someone had told me that and sat down and explained to me that that has nothing to do with parenthood and it has nothing to do with my actual value as a person. I think my third bit of advice is always prepare for the worst. And always, whether you're you're packing your bag to plan ahead, always plan ahead the next 5 years, because if you have even a plan or a goal, you can base all of your decisions off of those goals. And if you're doing that, you're going to reach a place you want to be, not only sooner than you expect, but you will be open to other things because you've already made your decisions that need to be made. Does that make sense?
I got you, yeah.
So decide now, not later. Because I know that is another thing that I've talked to other mamas about, is just like deciding things is hard because, you never know what the future is going to bring, what the future will change. And a lot of the times I wish that I had been told when I was in that mindset was that, yes, everything's going to change, but you can control what you can control now to have later. So,
yeah.
I think those are my main points.
I love those. No, I think those are really
broad,
great. No, but I think broad helps because then it's more adaptable for other people.
Easier to personalize, yeah.
Exactly, but yeah, I think it's a very great point you made, is just to build that community. I think that was one thing I enjoyed with my family, was that the LDS church is not perfect in any way.
No.
But
they have community.
They have a community, and I think that's really what helped me and my many siblings. Because aside from us having each other, we still have this other community to fall back on. So I think that's a great point. You need people to support other people.
Yeah, you got a little village that could come and help you with your yard work or just cleaning your house for a day.
Even the smallest house, you're like, thank goodness.
Cooking dinner.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I loved, is like when my mom would have a new baby, someone would give us a casserole. We're like, oh, thank you. They don't have to worry about dinner. but yes.
Nice to have dinner ready to go on the table.
Exactly.
And not worry about it.
Exactly.
Where it's gonna come from.
So yes, definitely. I love that you said a community. I think that's very important, especially when you're starting to build that community of women in the workforce. Just to be like, we have each other. We're gonna help each other. Make us get that upward mobility that we deserve.
Right. Like, man, women at heads of companies are dangerous for a reason. Okay?
They should be feared.
The sad part is the reason why a lot of them are feared is because they had to fight tooth and nail to get there.
Unfortunately,
and so
yes.
they're kind of violent, and they don't have a community by the time they get there. I think that's why my advice
Excuse me.
is what it is.
But yes, they shouldn't have to be feared. All they did was do what any other man would do to get to the top. So no one should be intimidated by them. They're just someone who worked their way up, and they're a human just like anyone else. You don't have to be scared of them.
Treated like, oh well, she's just crazy, or she did sexual acts to get here, and it sucks because it feels like as a woman you could never earn your place.
You never earn your place, no.
And they've kicked ass to get to the top.
Yes.
And just perfect numbers, perfect work, back to back, perfect. Compared to the last guy that they picked out of the job that wasn't actually doing his job at all, was just sitting on other people working for him.
She's actually competent.
Right. And so when someone actually competent comes up, like, even other women attack them. And I want our world to have a better community in the way of women supporting women because of me seeing things like that. I've seen other women out of jealousy or out of, like, resource hunger to attack other women. And in fact, that other woman could just be helping them live their life better. Just being their friend and being there for them for what they need.
Just be human,
Right. And treating them properly. Like, this competitiveness that I've experienced from women is insane.
It's such a downer. But yeah, definitely find that positive community. Your second point was
is planning for not only the inevitable, but setting a goal and planning for that goal.
Just to fall back on.
Because then you know what will happen
in
that between now and then, or you can adjust your decisions to reach that goal rather than being like, oh, I don't know what to do in this situation. It's freaking me out, and doing something out of stress rather than a collected mind.
Yes. I remember what your second was. Remember your value. Because like you said, I think that is such a powerful thing to remember, that even though you're a working person, your value isn't on the monetary gains that you bring into the home. It's, you still have value elsewhere. You're still your own person. Great points. Have a community. Remember your value, and to just always prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
So, definitely.
And or just plan for the future so that when the worst does come, you already know what you're going to do because you know where you're going.
Yeah, you have something to fall back on. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely a lot of great things you talked on, so thank you for that. Any last minute comments you would like to make about women who are moms and work?
I don't know, just be a mom, do good, be happy.
You've got it.
Well, it's more of like, just remember that you have people out there that are willing to listen and to be there for you. Because it's really easy to forget when you're alone with your kids doing whatever you need to do. It's really easy to get so caught up in that you forget I could take a break and I could ask for help, and someone will watch my kids and take care of them as I would, just so I can sleep a wink.
Right, I just need a nap.
So that I can work a little bit. Receive help when it comes your way.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to do that. Oh, yeah.
Okay, lots of great things. Thank you again, Tori, for being with us.
Oh, bye, gorgeous. Whoever you are.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. For additional information and resources, please go to bit.ly/TWI podcast. There, you can access full transcripts of each episode, as well as mentioned resources and references in relation to each episode. Today's intro featured a recording of Eleanor Roosevelt, provided by the Library of Congress. Mrs. Roosevelt was a human rights activist, mother of 6, and an influential American political figure as a First Lady from 1933 to 1945. See more about her on our website at bit.ly/TWI podcast resources. The intro and outro music is a track called Something About Something by Sarah the Instrumentalist, made available through epidemicsound.com. That's EPIDEMIC sound.com. Thank you for tuning in.